Remote Evil. Book 1. Chapter 26. Death from the Sky. This audiovisual book was created by Joseph Russell Timpu Geisen. She looked upward and into the wide branches of the forest trees. She then looked upward even more and into the sky. The trees covered most of the view of the sky but not all of it. This is where the flying drone was positioned. It was stationed at the clear areas near the top branches of the tall trees. Luckily the wide branches of the forest trees provided a barrier between the drone and them. Cherry called out to John Jr. "Look up." She also pointed her fingers towards the sky to signal John Jr. where their enemy is. John looked up to the sky and nodded his head at Cherry to signal her that he understood where their enemy is. John Jr. tried to aim his rifle towards the drone but he is not able to clearly target it. The drone was also randomly changing its position as if it was trying to get a clear shot of them. It was a stalemate. The wide branches of the trees were preventing both the drone and John Jr. from getting a clear shot at each other. John Jr. does not need to tell Cherry about this. Even she clearly understands their situation. But John Jr. has been shot by the drone and he is bleeding. She fears that he might bleed to death if his bullet wound is not cured soon. She also fears that her rapist will be coming soon and maybe this time he will come together with his accomplices. Clearly they can't stay pinned down and trapped in this situation. She has to think fast. John Jr. is too busy trying to find a clear shot at the drone to think of anything else. He also has difficulty moving because of the weakening effect of his bullet wound on him. Then she had an idea. "Do you have another gun?" she shouted to John Jr. He nodded to say yes. "Can you throw it to me?" He nodded again as if he knew what she was planning. He produced his handgun and threw it to her with all of his might, making sure that it lands in her hiding place. In his effort to try to make sure that she gets his handgun, he slightly revealed himself to the drone. It was all the opening the drone needed. It was able to shoot him in his arm this time. He slumped to the ground but was lucky enough to crawl fast back to his hiding place before the drone was able to get another clear shot at him. Cherry struggled for a while to find the handgun John Jr. just threw at her. She ultimately found it. But she does not know how to use a gun. She pointed the gun towards the drone which was hidden by the wide branches of the trees. She pressed the trigger of the gun. It did not fire. She made a quick analysis of the gun. She remembered all the action movies she has watched and tried to remember how they used their gun. Then she understood that the safety lock of the gun was still on. She removed the safety lock of the gun. She then pointed the gun again at the drone which was hidden by the wide branches of the trees. She pressed the trigger of the gun. This time it fired. But she was unprepared for the recoil of the gun. She almost lost her balance. She realizes that she must change her position to get a clear shot at the drone. Time was urgent. She does not know when her rapist might arrive and maybe even together with his accomplices. Her rapist might even send more drones to kill her and John Jr. All these thoughts made her more desperate to shoot the drone and destroy it. She tried to distract the drone. She threw small stones at some bushes hoping the drone will notice this. The drone did. It fired shots at the bushes where she threw the stones. She does not know if the drone can see them or even know their position or if it is simply automatically shooting at anything that moves. She threw another batch of small stones, this time in a different group of bushes. Her assumption was correct. The drone fired in the bushes where she threw her second batch of stones. She studied her situation and surroundings. She was able to determine a good spot where she can get a clear view of the sky and possibly the drone itself. Then not far from her the bushes moved. The drone fired at the bushes. Then another set of bushes moved. The drone fired at it as well. Then she realized what was going on. John Jr. maybe saw her throwing stones at the bushes and understood what she was trying to do. He throws more stones at different bushes as if he has a pattern in mind. She then understands what he is trying to do. He is slowly trying to divert the drone away and away from her position. He has been throwing stones further and further away from her, and the drone keeps firing its gun away and away from her. She makes her move. She goes quickly but carefully to the spot where she can get a clear view of the sky and hopefully at the drone itself. As if the drone has a second sense, it was able to determine that she has moved. It too changed its position fast and was flying towards her now. Cherry understood that the drone will delay for a few seconds to adjust its targeting sight. She exposes herself from her new hiding spot just enough so that she can get a good shot at the drone. She held the gun with both of her hands and fired continuously, hoping that she will be able to shoot the drone down. Either she has fired all the bullets of the gun or it jammed because her gun stopped firing. The drone was flying very erratically. It might have been shot, but it was still flying. She scrambled back to her hiding spot to hide from it. But the drone seems to have a clear shot at her. It fired shots, but it was flying too erratically to have a clear shot at her. Then she saw it fly hard to one side before suddenly crashing to the ground. It was John Jr. The drone was so distracted with Cherry that he was able to change his position and get a clear shot at it. But John Jr. slowly collapsed to the ground. Cherry ran to him to assist him. She saw his wounds. His clothes were very bloodied already. He seems to be so weak now. She panicked. She does not know what to do. She wants to help him, but she does not know how to stop him from maybe bleeding to death. "What can I do to help you?" she asked him, clearly panicking. "I have a first aid kit in my backpack. Get it. Don't worry," he gently said to Cherry, as if he understands her panic and is trying to calm her down. Cherry quickly gets his first aid kit from his backpack. "Could you please remove my shirt?" he told her. Then John Jr. weakly taught her how she could disinfect his wounds and cover them with bandage and gauze. She was able to clumsily disinfect and cover his wounds using his bandages, gauze and his other first aid kits. Then he instructed her on how to create a tourniquet for his wounded arm and how to create a crutch for him using small tree branches. She was skilled enough to make them for him. When she was finished, she said to him, "We better get out of here quick. He might send more men or drones later." He understood this and nodded. He clearly understood that his revenge would have to wait for now. His safety, but most importantly her safety, was his primary concern now. "Help me up," he gently told her. She helped him up. "My truck is not far from here. You could drive it to town." "Do you know how to drive, or can you still drive?" he asked her. She nodded to say yes. "Put on my shirt. It might be bloodied, but you could still use it to cover yourself," he told her. She put on his bloodied shirt. The blood in his shirt had dried up completely already, so she had no problems wearing it. To her it was just like wearing a piece of dirty rag. Other people would have been squeamish wearing a bloodied up shirt, but she has experienced even more worse things than this. She has seen and experienced extreme pain, starvation, humiliation, rape, bullet shots, and other worse things. Her life has suddenly changed. She has been near death many times already. Her outlook in life had changed completely. Even she admits to herself that her former self is gone now. Luckily John Jr. is a big man and his shirt covered the nakedness of Cherry. She hugged herself hard for a minute. For the first time in several weeks she is not naked anymore. Her feelings of self-pity and humiliation disappeared. A sense of pride entered her mind again. She was at last decent. "I am human again. I'm no longer a dog," she said to herself. Her feelings of relief caused tears to fall from her eyes once more. John Jr. was looking at her all the time. He does not know what she is thinking, but he too felt her feeling of relief that she is no longer naked and now looked decent. What kind of animal treats women like this? His mind angrily told him. "I have a mother, sister, and women friends. I wouldn't do this to them." His mind further tells him. He begins to worry about her state of mind. To him her face seemed full of quiet anger and he is scared of what she is capable of. They proceeded to walk slowly towards the place where his truck is. She supported the weakened John Jr. while he held his rifle and crutch and looked out for any more drones which may be waiting to ambush them. While they were walking she asked him how he was able to find her. He told her he was the son of John Sr. and is a soldier like his father. He knows that his old father always gets lost, that is why he always carries an electronic tag. This is the same device used by scientists to follow and study the migrating patterns of animals. This is how John Jr. tracks his father in case his father does not come back after several days of being lost. This time was no different. He again concluded that his father might be lost after he did not come back at their appointed date, time, and meeting spot. Although he always worries every time his father gets lost, he was used to this eccentric behavior of his father and lets it slide by him. He understands and shares his father's strong love for nature, which especially heightened when her mother died. He knows that his father is a lonely old man, although he does not show it. Like a dutiful son, he would always drive his father to and fro to his nature trekking activities and would drive him home when he finished his nature trekking activities. Initially he was not worried when his father got lost and did not show up at their appointed meeting spot. What worried him was that according to his electronic tag tracking system he had not moved for days. According to his electronic tag he has been staying in the same spot for several days already. He knows something has happened to his father because his father always moved around. He never stays in one location only for days on end, especially if according to his schedule he should be heading home on that day already. Before Cherry even escaped the camper van he was already near the location of the camper van. His training as a soldier instinctively told him that there was danger when his father's electronic tag tracker guided him to a part of the forest which is ideal for setting up camp and is accessible to vehicles. He even saw the same wheel tracks his father saw. But unlike his father, who stumbled on the camper van almost by accident, he failed to locate the camper van because it was very well camouflaged now, unlike before. He decided to stalk the place. He remained quietly hidden in the bushes and is almost invisible to the naked eye. He has already seen the rapist of Cherry enter the camper van before, but he decided to wait until he has a clear idea of what is going on in this part of the forest. His electronic tag tracker keeps telling him that his father is either within the vicinity of the camper van or is inside the camper van. He thinks his father is inside the camper van and he fears that something bad might have happened to him. He wants to go to the camper van already to check if his father was there, but first he needs to know exactly how many people he would have to fight in case there is a violent confrontation. He already heard the sounds of a gun being fired inside the camper van by the rapist of Cherry as he and Cherry were violently fighting each other, but he still waited to see what will happen next. When he saw the naked Cherry come out of the camper van, he knows something was definitely wrong and readied his gun to help her. He was glad that he did not immediately proceed to the camper van and waited. Just like his father before him, he also failed to notice the remotely controlled gun that is well hidden in the tree. He could have been one of the victims of the remotely controlled gun hidden in the tree. When the remotely controlled gun started firing at Cherry, it gave away its position to John Jr. and he was able to disable it with just a few shots from his long-range gun. He next had a long-range shooting match with the rapist of Cherry, who was hidden inside the camper van. He decided to follow Cherry because his instincts told him that she might know what has happened to his father. Both John Jr. and Cherry now believed John Sr. might have intentionally or unintentionally dropped his electronic tag somewhere in the vicinity of the camper van so his son could find him and maybe even rescue him and or Cherry. She cried because she knows she is in the company of good people and one of them even lost his life trying to save her. They talked some more along the way. It was a relatively peaceful journey this time. No remote-controlled drones or other weapons attacked them along the way. The accomplices of the rapist, which she has not seen or is even doubtful of, did not show up. But they hurried. They need to reach his truck before night sets in. They both know that the rapist has night vision equipment and other equipment that he can use to take advantage of the darkness and attack them, and they are no match to these weapons and equipment. End of chapter.